Okay. So we're here with one of my private clients, Shanna. We've actually worked together in a couple of different capacities before, but most recently, we did a one-to-one quantum embodiment program where I helped Shanna get more present with her day-to-day life and really embody the version of her who she was ideally trying to become. So we are here. I'm just going to ask her a few questions so that she can share her take and her experience through the program and all of the benefits that came with the work that we've been doing together. So thank you so much for being here with me, Shanna. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We had an epically amazing couple of months together. So let's just give everybody kind of a rundown of what was going on before we started working together. So what were you struggling with in the days, weeks, and months kind of leading up to what ended up being the beginning of our time together?
Sure. Yeah. I think one of the things, well, first of all, I came home from my full-time job in March. So I worked with Danielle in a capacity prior to that, not in the one-on-one. And then I think one of the largest things is, I made this huge change in my life and just trusting myself, listening to my own intuition, following those, those little nudges that are there, slowing down and just paying attention to what really drives me and what lights me on fire. And, those nudges were there and I wasn't listening to them. I don't even know that I was aware that they were there or I knew it, but I was like, no, that can't be right. You know what I mean? Just let's not, no, that can't be, that's not for me type of thing. So that's kind of what was going on. And, one of the books that you recommended, Danielle, The Big Leap and upper limiting myself, I had found myself doing that all the time. And you kept saying, no, you wouldn't be given this idea if it wasn't going to work. It's going to work. There's absolutely no way it's not going to work. So those were definitely some of the things that I was struggling with before we had worked together one-on-one.
Yeah, I remember having conversations about that kind of stuff too. And I kept saying no, you're getting in your own way. You have to believe that. I mean, obviously you've come to realize as well that a lot of the journey, the process is learning to trust yourself and that the universe is going to be there for you and that literally everything you want is available to you. And you have to kind of develop that bravery to allow yourself to lean in and let that be true, I think, right?
That's spot on. 100%. Yes. Yes.
So before we were working together and then even kind of during while, and maybe even now, what would you say has been preventing you from getting where you are now or where you want to be?
Well, a few things. I think I wasn't allowing myself to do what I loved the most because I was really hung up on things that were out of my control. So I wanted my bank account to be extremely full and it wasn't. I've worked through a lot of money blocks, tons and tons of money blocks. And, just knowing that that was preventing me from moving forward. I just kept worrying. Worrying gets you nowhere. I was worrying about things that haven't even happened yet. I was worrying about 10 years from now when I can't even see 30 seconds in front of my face. So the worrying was a huge thing. I know for sure that was holding me back. And it was like I needed to have that control, but I didn't. I just felt like I did because in our society, that's kind of what we're taught, right? No, you do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this. And when you step into a role, like we do, I don't feel like we're the normal people. I don't know if that exists or whatever, but when you start to be enlightened and you're aware, you're like, wait a second, hold up. That is just not true. There's none of that is true. That is just this belief that has been put into us that, takes some work to get out of. And I mean, okay, I want to say more, but I won't.
No, but you're absolutely right. I think there's so much of what we believe to be true about the way things work that are programmed into us, conditioned from a very young age, through traditional school, just the way society operates, and if we don't come, I don't come from parents of entrepreneurship. So, that comes with its whole own struggle as well. And I think the main control piece is not just for you, but I think in most people's cases is that we want the process to be linear, right? We
Mhm.
think, okay, well, I'm going to do this. Like you were saying, I do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, and then it'll lead me here. But the problem then becomes when we have an entrepreneur spirit and we have that pioneer, mentality, and we want to start something new and go off on a trail that we haven't necessarily seen blazed before. And then the mind wants to control, well, okay, but if I do that, then what does that mean, 2 months from now, 5 years from now? But you're, like you said, you have to dial it back and go, well, it doesn't matter. We're just worrying about today, tomorrow, and the next day right now. But again, society programs us to believe that you can't just worry about today, tomorrow, and the next day. You have to worry about 5 years from now. You have to worry about, 35 years from now when you have some amount in your retirement savings. Like you have to have that. And anyway,
Yes.
so we're on the same page. We agree, obviously.
Yes.
So before working one-to-one with me, what was like, walk us through like a typical day for you.
So a typical day filled with things that I had to do, have to do. Not like, oh, I can't wait to do this. I wasn't really mapping too much out in terms of what does my ideal day look like? Like, what do I want it to look like? And more importantly, what do I want it to feel like? And I think I was just stressed, like so super stressed about everything. And again, I keep coming back to this, the worries, the money going to be there? Am I going to be enough? Is following this path going to be okay for me? Will I be provided for? Not that I ever thought like, I'm gonna lose my house, I'm gonna lose all the things that like never, those types of things. I'm like, well, that's just not possible. But it comes into mind, like you think about these things. And I think I was just consumed with that. And I feel like I was working my way out of it, but like just being aware that you have these thoughts, feelings, emotions, and what to do with them. You're like, now I'm like, okay, thank you for acknowledging that. I'm moving on. Like, fear kind of is a good thing. Let's keep you in action towards the things that you want in your life. But I spent so much time just sitting in that space that I wasted, and I think about like that gap, right? You want to close it, like who you are now compared to like who you want to be. And that gap is where I was like sitting, just thinking and pondering and wanting, instead of doing the action to just jump over the gap or get over the bridge. And that held me back, tremendously held me back.
Yeah. So it sounds kind of like, if I can paraphrase, it sounds kind of like you were doing what a lot of people do, which is acknowledging that the fear is there, but then kind of being frozen by it and not letting it light the fire, but letting it kind of keep you in inaction, when then all that does, as you learned, is perpetuate the not having what you want. Because instead of changing something that you have control over, you're looking at all the things that you don't have control over, and what if this and what if that, and then you're just stuck in the same position over and over again, day to day. So you're right. I mean, we did do a lot of mapping out, and I mean, the whole idea was to get very much aligned with who you want to become. And I mean, I would say you did a fantastic job of that, obviously. So let's just a little bit before, again, let's just stick with a little bit before we're working together, just for another couple of minutes here. What do you feel was missing from your day before we started working together?
Yeah, this is such a good question. One of the things I know that you had taught me is acting as if though, right? So acting as if though you are that person who you want to literally embody and be, and don't wait for it. So waiting is like sitting in that gap. Why would you wait to be awesome and amazing? Why would you wait to execute your ideas? Like, there's literally no reason for that. And again, back to the trust and the worry and those things. Like I did a lot of that. I know right now I practice gratitude way more than I ever have. You have to be grateful for what you have right now while you're working, going towards those things. Because if you're not grateful for what you have now, you're never going to be grateful for the things that you have once you get there. So those gaps, I think, have closed even farther. I think we're all always going to be working on ourselves. So knowing that those thoughts, those feelings don't serve me, and having ideas and not executing, or at least writing down all of my ideas so that I can come back to them, because I don't think you're given an idea if you're not meant to act on it, or you're not meant to think about it, or like put it down, and eventually something's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is a great idea. It's completely aligned with you. Let's move forward with it. And I still have things that I know that I'm going to do in the future. Now is not the time. I'm not ready for them, but I can see it happening. You know what I mean? I'm still building some things over here, and I'm just not ready for those yet, but the vision is there. Right. So, and it's not there yet because I don't want to do them yet, to be honest. So that's why I'm not doing those. Not that I can't do them. I could. I don't want to. I'm working on these things right now, which I know are going to shape me into the person who I'm meant to be, so that when that time, because I don't have control over time, right? I want to. We talked about this quite often because I'm like, but I want it now, Danielle. I want it right now. Like, I've been doing this forever. I want it now. Yeah. So that was another lesson for me. You know, I needed to learn that, like, I'm not in control of that. Again, it's the control piece. I'm not in control of that. And I just have to be able to let that go. And I mean, still I have to work on that piece, because I'm like, well, I want it now. And if you're listening to this, probably, hopefully this like rings true to you. You're like, but I want to do this today, and then tomorrow reap all the benefits. It doesn't always work that way, right? But if you're living that life of who you're meant to be, practicing the gratitude, it's almost like it comes easier. I don't know how to explain that. It's like a feeling I get, like, it's okay. Like, I'm here. I'm right now. I'm doing all the things today that I need to do. And that's okay. You know, it's okay that I'm not doing it here. It's going to look like this. And that is massively exciting, but I'm so grateful and happy for where I am right now and all of the things that I am accomplishing. It's going to get me there. So it's like, it's not even a gap anymore. I don't even know what it's called. I'm just not there yet. I don't even know. I know you're going to use the right language here, and but that's how I feel. I know it's coming. I know where I am right now. I'm so grateful. I'm the happiest I've ever been. You know, as soon as my bank account 10x's, it's because I have fully developed, and I know that.
I love it. I'm just like sitting here, amen, amen, amen. Because, you know, you're so right. It is about being grateful for what you have now, and not putting your happiness out into the future. Right? Like, really embracing what you have now, because we've all, no matter where we are in our journeys, whether we've just started this, you know, deliberate manifestation and mindset and whatever or not, even if you've just been living your life totally unconsciously, we still have come a long way, you know. And I think there's not enough time spent reflecting on how far we've already come and how we've already manifested so many amazing things into our life at this point. And you're so right when you say, you know, that the embodiment makes it so much easier and it closes the gap. And I mean, in my experience, and I know it's been in your experience too, that the embodiment of the ideal version of you, it's not just about life and business. It makes everything better, like including the relationships with our spouses, with our kids. I mean, for me, it even comes down to like how I'm preparing meals. And I know for you, one of the things that you started doing while we were working together was like setting your future self up for success better. And like meal planning and not maybe not prepping, but planning, and like really thinking about, okay, well, the ideal version of myself would look at her life and her week and her, you know, whatever this way. So if I start doing that now, you're aligning to that ideal version, right? Like there's nothing to lose. And like you say, it makes everything just so much better, you know? So I think it's fair to say that the quantum embodiment program and working together did impact your life positively. But I would love it if you could kind of give us just a little bit of a rundown of like how exactly it's positively impacted you.
Yeah. Everything you said. And then, yeah, definitely, like, you're going to laugh at this one, but so if you haven't heard Danielle's story yet, you're going to have to. I have folded my clothes every single time this month. There have been no clothes in my living room. They've stayed in my laundry room. They're all folded. I walk upstairs, put them all in the room. It's a magical miracle, because that's what my future self does. So I have to laugh, because I'm like, I know that was part of yours from eons ago, and I have to laugh. But yes, I think I've learned to trust, and it's okay to be her now. You don't have to wait to be her. You don't have to wait for those feelings of gratitude and gratefulness and amazingness. And you know, it's really simple, but it's okay to be now. Like, be who you are now instead of waiting to be who she is, right? And you don't have to do all of the things now that your future version of you is doing, but if you can act like her, if you can feel like her, all the things that you want, it's inevitable that they're going to come to you. At least that's how I feel. So knowing that here's another thing, knowing that I am enough and that, you know, God made me who I am, and to use my unique story and my unique life and just my uniqueness and whoever I am to my advantage, because there's no better advantage to, you know, to anything than to being yourself and sharing your story. That's what's going to resonate with people. That's going to resonate with your life, with God, with, you know, being aligned with everything. And so acting in that intuition, because it's your intuition and it's no one else's, has been so important for me. And that's what's going to light you up, and that's what's going to fuel you. And I feel like if there's any tension or something like you don't feel like doing, or something's not quite right, it's because it's not in alignment with you. And that's okay, right? So just write it down, journal about it, and figure it out, and ask yourselves the questions. And that's one thing I definitely was not doing. Journaling has been hard for me. It's still something that I am working on every single day, but being able to self-explore has been powerful. And asking yourself, why do I not want to do this? And literally just journal it out. How is this impacting my life if I don't do this? Well, is it negative or positive? You know what I mean? And yeah, okay, we're going to have to do things that we don't always want to do, because that's just the nature of life. You know what I mean? Like, I, of course, don't want to fold my laundry. I would like a robot to come do it for me or something like that. But I do it because it has to be done. And when I am done, I feel great about it. Right. So I think those are some of the pieces that were huge for me that I've picked up and I've learned, and it's all in perspective. And that gap, I feel like I'm jumping ahead here and maybe questions, but that gap, when you have a coach, it goes from like here to here, right? That's what helps you quantum leap and get over things. And so it's just going to fast forward your future version. It's going to fast forward your, I don't even know the right word for it, but your development into who you are meant to be, and to reach the goals that you want, and just to be her. Because everyone has a dream, right? Everyone's like, oh, I can't wait till. Don't wait, just do, just be right now. There's no waiting. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I even got my wedding dress out a couple years ago after listening to you, because I'm like, why? It's in a box in my closet. What is it ever going to do? Right. So my kids have tried. I'm like, you just stupid stuff. Like, why? Because society says you keep this up here in a box. You're not allowed to ever open it up. Why? Let's just do this now. This is fun. You know what I mean? Like, let's live in the excitement. So that's been huge, huge.
I love it so much. I have chills all over just thinking about all of the things. And you're so right. We are all so busy like I said earlier, projecting our happiness into the future. And, well, I'll be happy when I get here, and when I finally hit this, then I'll celebrate. And like you said, but why though? Like, life is so precious. And part of the work we were doing together, and part of the work that I do in general, is like, let's enjoy right now, because the ideal version of you is definitely enjoying her life. So why do you have to wait until you feel like you're her to be her? And I think something else that you realized and have come to embody is that if we continue to put off our ideal self into the future, we'll always be putting her off. Like you said at the beginning, if you're not grateful for what you have now, it's never going to be enough. You'll never be grateful. You'll never stop and go, oh my God, I'm so glad that I created this, because you're constantly going to be reaching for the next thing, instead of just appreciating what you have now, which is so huge. And that, of course, plays into actually enjoying your life, right? Because if you're constantly looking around thinking, well, this isn't enough, and this isn't what I want, and this isn't, good enough.
Yeah.
That's not productive energy, Right. And I want to touch on too, what you said about, realizing that being your authentic self is like, that is the key. And that's the key for a couple of reasons, because like you say, there's no better superpower you have than to be yourself, because each of us individually came here to have our own perspectives and live our own lives and filter information the way we do for the people that need it. And, especially the people that are here to be some kind of coach, mentor, course creator, leader, something or other. And I think a lot of people, and I know we worked on this too, we have like comparisonitis, right? We're like, oh, but this person's doing it better, and this person has already been doing it this long, and this person this, and this person that. It's like, that's fine and good, but she's not you, and you're not her, and you're not meant to have the same path. I mean, and I'll be very honest, sometimes I even find myself doing that and going, still, I catch myself comparing myself to whoever and going, wait a minute, no, that's her journey, this is mine. I'm choosing to make it mean this and not that. And, because we get to decide. And so always choosing that better feeling. And right? And
Yeah.
embodying who we want to be from that perspective, because of course the ideal version of me is not comparing herself to people. She's reaching for what feels best always. Right. So
Yes.
I love it. I love that the laundry thing keeps coming up. It's so good. Oh yeah. Another day, another story. Yeah.
Yep.
So what are some of the biggest wins you've had? I know you've had several really cool things happen since we started working together. And then since we've finished, you've had a couple of cool things happen.
Yes. So I have two businesses. I have an online one and I have a kombucha business. And so this kombucha thing has been like drawn out forever. My husband has just converted our garage, it's a single bay garage, into a commercial kitchen. So we like poured all this money into it and we just got the insurance, everything anyway. And so I saw this post that someone had made on Facebook and I was just like, I followed her for a year. We chit chatted about different things, never this. She was talking about fermentation. I was like, what? So I reached out to her because I was like, okay, I've got a gut feeling I can either act on this or I can wait. And I don't want to wait because I'm not the only person out here, right? So I messaged her. She was like, yeah, that sounds great. Why don't you bring it tomorrow? And I was like, what? So I brought 20 extra jars and then I brought 5 for a sample. I didn't even know she wanted any, I'm going to be honest. So I brought the samples up there. She didn't even try it. She's like, great. Do you have some in the car? I want to put it on my shelf. I was like, oh my God, what? So not only did she buy 20 that day, she bought, what was it? 24, because they sold out in 2 days, 24 the next day. Then they did 48. And now I'm leaving for the weekend. She was like, yeah, I'm going to need 20 just to make sure we don't, this is like not even 2 weeks. So I literally have the largest kombucha like account I've ever had. It's just mind blowing that I didn't wait, because old me would have been like, let me think about this. I'm going to ask my husband. Let me see if he thinks it's a good idea. Literally everything is in place. There was everything in place. If I let that go, that was on me. I don't know if she's going to say yes or no, but if I didn't ask, the answer was always going to be no. So that has just skyrocketed. I'm getting some really amazing people in my online business. I just had a new girl join me the other day and I got off and I was like, I love her. Her energy is awesome. Like, yes, this is exactly what I've been looking for. So that's been huge, like trusting yourself and like and putting out there exactly what you want, not just willy-nilly, exactly what you want has been huge. And I have another account I have to text message as soon as we get off, and I know I'm going to get that too. So I'm so super excited about it. Everything is just happening. It's like I have like seen this. And Danielle knows, because I think you've known me for like years, right? I have visioned this. I visioned myself like driving in the car to listening to my podcast. I freaking did that last week. Like I listened to my podcast in the car as I'm driving and delivering kombucha. Like this is my life now. Like, that's awesome.
That is so amazing. I love it. I love it. And I'm so glad that you took the time to get clear on what you wanted and get clear on how you wanted to get there, and then reached out to get the support, because let's be real, you would have gotten there either way. I don't ever try to say that it's only working with a mentor or coach that's going to get you where you want to go, because I believe that if you have a vision, it's possible for you and you'll get there no matter what. But obviously having somebody to bounce ideas off of and who may be a couple of steps ahead and who can help you like ask the right questions and get you thinking about things in a different way can really be so beneficial, because we totally did collapse time. Matt,
yes,
I remember
absolutely.
when you were just starting the commercial kitchen, and when we just started working together in the one-to-one, I remember you were still talking about, and I want to sell the kombucha thing is still like going, but it's not really going, and like we're making it, but and then all of a sudden you've got accounts and they're selling out, and like, what's happening? This is so cool. Oh my goodness. So you've kind of already answered this question, but I'm still going to ask you anyway, because it's awesome, because it's fun to reminisce about all the cool things. How would you say you feel about your life and your relationships and your business and just in general after our time together?
I think, well, first of all, the gratitude work was massive. That was huge. The journaling on the different things that were coming up in my life was huge. And the fact that I could literally voice message you anytime it was coming up, because I knew it was coming up for a reason, right? I'm like, I need to work on this. So I think those pieces were huge, because if I can't figure it out right away, and like you said, I knew I was going to get there. I'm going to get there, right? it's what I do, but I want to get there now. Right. And I want to be so aware of myself and who I am. And just, I don't know. It's just, it made me feel like my feelings were warranted. Like I wasn't off my rocker either. And, it allowed for the pieces to happen more flawlessly with more like ease and grace, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm having these emotions and these feelings and it's okay. Let's work through these. Now I'm like, okay, when these emotions and these feelings and these things comes up, now I know how to handle them and I know how to do with those types of things. You know, I'm super crazy hard on myself. I always have been. We've worked through those pieces too. But like, kind of shaping and molding who I'm supposed to be and being aware that like it's okay to be you. Like I think that was the largest thing. It's okay to be you. It's okay to just do the things and go in the direction that you want to go. Just because it's not like everyone else doesn't mean that it's wrong, but this is for you. And it's okay that that's for you, right? So I can leave those things in the past and be like, okay, I'm okay with that. But now I'm over here. And this is what I do now. And this is who I am. And I feel like I embody that in my life and my business and on my online space and like wherever I am, I just share me. Just makes life so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something I was actually going to say earlier that I ended up not, but now I'm going to say it totally is being authentically yourself and just like putting it out there and being very raw and real about it. Not only is, I think that's what society and the internet needs these days is more authenticity. But it just is so much easier than trying to keep this facade of like, I'm more successful than because I think, and I know I did this when I first started, I thought that people wouldn't take me seriously if they knew that where I was actually where I was. So I never lied or anything, but I did definitely try to present everything in a way that made it look like it was more than it was, instead of just letting it be. And for me too, which is why I know that being authentic is the key, which is why I was helping you with that, is because the second I started being very honest about where I actually was and just letting people in and know that, this is where I live and this is what my situation is and this is what's going on. And it just was, not only did my business explode, but it was easier for me to show up because it wasn't like this extra energy or this extra drain to try to, oh, don't forget, like you're supposed to look like you're more successful than you already are. You're supposed to look like you already have, X, Y, and Z. And that's not good. And then, and a lot of that comes from the comparisonitis, from looking at people who are also making it look like it's something that it's not. And then you're comparing yourself to something that doesn't even exist. It's like it can be a very toxic place. So I think I would love it if everybody would just be more authentic and just let themselves be themselves. And because we're all just humans. Yeah. We're all having human experiences and that's part of it. We're going to have breakdowns. And if we're doing the work, the breakdowns lead to breakthroughs. And then, you get where you need to go. Sometimes it's not super fun, but that's part of the human process, right?
Right. Yes.
So now, fast forward a few months from, before we started working together, our time together, and now, what is a typical day for you now as you embody that ideal version and step more fully into her and or literally living as her?
Right. So it actually starts the night before. So I've learned to map out my day before as if though it's already happened, flexibly. I have to keep that in mind. So I kind of map out my day before, and I have a planner now that I don't actually willy-nilly use. I actually use it. And in there, I put like I have it with me all the time. I can't not have it. So I put like little boxes in there. I'm such a dork. I even teach some of my team members this. I'm like, draw a box so you can check that off. It's a boost of serotonin, right? So I write all the things that I want to accomplish the next day down with a box. And if I don't accomplish all of those, I put them in priority. I just move them to the next day and know that that's okay. You didn't get to them, but you did accomplish the priorities. So I get up in the morning and usually get my kids up, but I wake up and I do a workout. And I know that doesn't seem maybe for some like it's a big deal, but my future version has always worked out, not every day of the week, but 3 days a week. And I'm doing that now. You've got a whole week. So it's easy to map it out. Right. And like actually do the things and then like check it off. You're like, yeah, did that. So I think that's made me not only physically stronger, but mentally stronger, because now I'm actually doing the things that I say I was going to do, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this," and then you don't do the things, and then you spiral in this like awful whatever. And so mapping out my day as if though it's already happened, putting the boxes in there has been huge, so that like I'm feeling, almost accomplished before I even wake up. Like how epic is that, right? I got my workout clothes set up, my sneakers are there, all the things are ready. I wear shoes too. Is that weird? So like, I have a pair of shoes that I wear in the house, and it makes me feel like I'm working. But I'm not. I'm just doing whatever I want to do, which is making me be successful, right? And if I need to go up to the kombucha kitchen and do some things, I do. Like everything is here. So I don't have to go anywhere if I don't want to, but if I want to, I can. So just mapping that out, that's actually been key. And yeah, I have so many other things like written down, but knowing that, I think the largest thing for me is knowing that I'm not necessarily in control of the timing, but I'm in control of what I do every single day, as if though I am that person, and embody everything that I can control, and be grateful and happy for the way things are going right now, because they are in a positive direction. You can even go back and see what all you accomplished the previous days. Like that is massive. And you're taking action steps. So like manifesting, like this is huge for me too. Like I learned this and it took me a while. You can't just manifest and think about it. Like you have to have the action to back that up. Like the universe and God's not going to be like, "Oh, okay, here you go. You won the lottery. You can have it all tomorrow." It doesn't work like that. Like you can manifest it, but there's all these other different laws that you have to abide by, right? Not have to, want to, so that you can get there. So the action piece, putting that in your day and seeing yourself doing that and then accomplishing it, like that's where it's at. Falling in love with the mundane. Yeah, falling in love with the stuff that you get to do every single day. I mean, that's key. And then being like, did this serve me? Did this not serve me? And then you can map your day out the next day even differently. If you're like, that didn't go well, all right, I'm not mapping that in tomorrow. Stuff that. So it's just been epic. It has absolutely been epic to be able to shoot you a message when I needed to, get a quick answer, be like, okay, hang on, let me retrain my brain, let me reframe this in a little bit different way. And then tomorrow I'm going to map it out differently. And now it's like ease and grace, right? I keep saying that it's like ease and grace. I just go through my day flawlessly because I know what I'm doing. And if something changes, that's okay. I'll just do it the next day. If it's not important, then maybe I shouldn't have done it, or I don't need to do it at all. And that's okay. So that's been huge, because now I see what my next day is going to look like, and I'm already happy about it. Who can say that all the time, right? Like tomorrow's happening. I don't want to wait until 6:30 to be happy. I want to be happy all darn day. I want to be happy when I wake up. I want to be happy when I'm working out. I want to be happy when I'm done, when I'm in the shower, when I'm feeding myself. And I think that the number one thing, and you'll probably agree with this, is that doing the hard work is not always easy, but doing the hard work is definitely going to make you feel more accomplished at the end of the day. And if you can't find time to do the hard work and to pour into yourself, whatever vision, dream, whatever you got is not going to happen. Because if you can't debunk the truths and the thoughts that you have, that action step is never going to come, because you are going to sabotage yourself so quickly before it even comes, that the future version of you is going to like take that gap and make it big. So doing the hard work every day is so super important. Journaling, thinking about what's going on, mapping your day out. I think all those things are epically important, and we don't do that enough. And setting that as the priority is probably the number one thing that has gotten me where I am right now. Because if I didn't do that, I would continue to sabotage myself, because I wasn't working on myself. And people often ask me, what do you mean by the hard work? Because sometimes I have a private group that I run. They're like, what do you mean by the hard work? It's not always that easy, because everyone's hard work is different, right? So like I have to journal, but my questions might be different to myself than someone else's. But realizing that you have to do it, you might have to meditate some days. Sometimes you may need to take a longer shower, whatever it is that you need to do. Or, if your exercise is your meditation and you need to sit there for a while, or whatever it is, that hard work is where the gap is. And if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to reach out, to a coach like Danielle, who's going to take that gap and go, whoop, let me just quantum leap over that gap. That's where it's at. I think all the greats have had coaches, they've had leaders, they've had people who've gotten to them where they need to go, because it takes that gap and it makes it so much smaller. I just can't imagine not having a coach to quantum leap into where I'm going. Yes, like you said, I'm going to get there. And I understand that, but the awareness, the work on yourself, that is priceless.
Absolutely. Just all of it. I just have chills the whole time. And I think too, not only does it close the gap, but I think having somebody to relay and rally back and forth, thoughts and ideas with allows you to build up the trust in yourself, because at the beginning it's tough, like to lean in with full faith and trust that the direction you're going is the right direction, and then it's going to work out. Because like you said, it will work out, and now you can lean in, like if I'm taking the action steps, it has to add up. And I think too, part of that is because the action steps that we're taking now, we don't realize it as we're going just day to day, action to action. But what's happening is we're being molded and shaped into the version of us who has the thing. Like you said, it's not just like snap your fingers and it shows up, because if that was to happen, you don't have the skills, the habits, the behaviors, the belief systems to support having that. So although I have seen people, like lottery winners, for example, I have seen people manifest amazing things out of nowhere, but it's not sustainable. You're not going to keep it that way because you haven't become the person who has that thing, right? And it's in the actions, it's in the discipline, it's in the prioritizing your life. And with priorities comes boundaries too, right? And it's in setting those priorities and boundaries and upholding those priorities and boundaries and really questioning, like you said, does this serve me? Does it not? Taking the time to reflect and go, okay, yes, that worked. No, that didn't work. It kind of worked, but I think I'm going to tweak it and maybe do it in the morning, or I'm going to do it at night, or I'm going to try it only on Sundays, or, whatever, being open to the process being the process, but knowing that because you're in the process, it's going to go where you want. And I think working with a mentor or a coach, not only does it close the gap, but like I said, it makes it easy to rally back and forth, and you have somebody in your corner that's helping you reinforce the new neural pathways you're trying to create that says, yes, I can do it. Yes, I'm going to be successful. Yes, this is a good idea. And something I do that I think is really important, and I wish more people would do, is I don't really give advice. I ask questions and I lead, and I try to get you to figure it out on your own, right? Because the last thing I want to do is say, I really think you should go in this direction. This is what needs to happen. And then it doesn't work out, because sometimes, and I'm a great example of this, I have different ideas, for example, a different direction I want to go, that it turns out that is not actually where I'm meant to end up, but I needed to go on that kind of diversion to get where I need to go. And I remember something like that kind of happening a couple of times while you and I were working together, and it ends up, like you say, you add that idea to the idea bank and let it kind of marinate and think and turn into what it needs to turn into, while taking actions towards the other things. And I think all of that comes down to having a really, like you said, a really clear vision of what you want, and not only what you want, but how it makes you feel. Because ultimately, the only reason any of us want anything is because of how we think it's going to make us feel. And that is one thing that I know you and I worked on quite a bit, is that a lot of people overlook, is the feelings that you're reaching for are available to you now. It's not like once you hit the $1 million mark, or once you hit this many clients, or once you hit, putting your kombucha in Target, like it's not like once that happens, then these other emotions unlock. Like there's some kind of top 2% tier of emotions that we don't have access to until we reach a certain level. Like it's all available to you right now, and it's a choice. And like you said, and I love the way I've been really listening to the way that you've been speaking about things, this conversation, and you've been saying things which I'm so proud of. Like, I get to do these things, not I have to do, right? And like you said, I want to enjoy. If I have to do the dishes and I got to cook dinner and I got to do laundry anyway, isn't it better to enjoy it and make the most of it? And, that can be as easy as having, just expressing gratitude for having a family to cook dinner for, having the ingredients that you need, or, utilize the time, listen to a podcast, listen to a Reiki session, listen to a replay of some, buddy you look up to, re-listen to a coaching call that you need, utilizing the time, prioritizing your time, because ultimately and I think you've kind of in a roundabout way said this whole conversation, time is our most valuable resource. And that is truly the only resource that you will never get back. It is non-renewable. Money, you can make money. There's tons of ways to make money. There's tons of ways to do all kinds of things, but you will never get today back. So why not enjoy exactly where you are as the version of you that you are now, while going where you're going, because that's inevitable. But right now is kind of awesome too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I love
Yes,
it. Well,
absolutely.
thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. I am so grateful. Our time working together was phenomenal. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of hope the opportunity comes around again to do another, because you were such amazing to work. It's so amazing to work with. I loved one thing I still kind of chuckle about is that one that actually it happened a couple of times, but the first time it happened when you sent me, I don't know if it was like 2 maybe voice messages or 3, and then you typed, no, forget it, I figured it out. Like I coached myself out of it while I was, it's so funny. So
Yeah.
good. But you were a dream to work with. I am so proud of the effort that you put in, and obviously it's all paid off, because I mean, you 1000% made a quantum leap. It was amazing to watch. It was amazing to be part of. It's amazing to hear about now. And I thank you for that time. And I thank you for trusting me and inviting me into your life for that time. And I thank you so much right now for spending this time with me to share your experience with everybody else.
Absolutely. You're welcome. I was blessed to be part of it.
I love you so much. Thank you so much. I'll chat with you soon.
You're welcome. Yep.